Well, folks, welcome to another edition of Living in Calgary. Today, I have the great pleasure of having Dean Hopkins here in my home office basement. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Mayoral candidate, so visionary.
Pretty much.
Hoping to be the leader of Calgary. Going to be the leader of Calgary.
You got that right.
Look at this right here, Dean Hopkins for mayor. Dean and I've been kind of trying to interview some of the mayoral candidates, and really it's not so much about political platform, but I'm sure you're going to want to get into that. I'm just more interested in your life, and some of those funny questions more about, well, first off, you're a big guy, you're strapping, and you're a rugby player.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so I'm interested in that. I played rugby for many years too. Dean, what brought you to Calgary? I notice an accent.
Yeah. Well, I've been coming to Calgary since my first visit to Canada was in 1984. I spent 30 years in military service and have traveled and deployed all over the world. Whenever we'd done training in the UK, the proving ground was always Canada.
Why? Because it's colder, or
no? What it was if you combined all the training facilities in the UK and Europe together, you can actually put them over at Medicine Hat into the training area. You can drive for a full day with your foot on the pedal and not hit the other end.
Right.
So I first came over as a young soldier in '84 and fell in love with Canada. And between now through 3 decades of military service, I kept coming back to Canada again and again. When I was in probably about two decades ago, I'd been on a deployment in Bosnia.
Like 2001-ish?
No, in 1984.
84?
Sorry, 94.
94, 3 decades ago almost.
Sorry. Just after the Bosnian Wars.
Okay.
And there was an altercation there where we had to go clean something up. And I sat down and I promised myself 2 things. One was to find a peaceful country once I'd finished my military career, and a city with good, kind people. And as I kept coming back again and again to Canada, I realized that Canada was going to be my home and Calgary was going to be where I lived.
And so is Calgary where you came? First city?
It is, yes.
And what year was that roughly?
It was funny because a friend of mine on my first visit to Canada, he says, my father lives in an amazing large city and we can go and watch the rodeo and everything else. And I said, well, let's go. And we went to Red Deer.
Red Deer, really?
Wow. That was the first Canadian city I visited. But since then, I'd visited Calgary a lot over the years.
And then what year did you move here?
12 years, 2009.
2009.
I came here,
just when the market was crashing in a real estate sense.
Yeah.
And did you end up buying real estate right away or soon after?
No, I met a long time friend who I knew in the early 80s when she was a 16-year-old girl. She went on her life's journey. I went on mine.
When you were a 16-year-old boy?
No,
too?
I was a 20-year-old soldier at
really?
the time. She was 16 and dating a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
So I met her twice.
Yeah.
She emigrated to Calgary in the mid-80s. So she went on her life's journey. I went on mine, on many deployments. But my last, when Afghanistan was just kicking off, my commander said to me, we're going to deploy you to Afghanistan. I said to him, I'm done with war. I've done my base, a young man's. I'd risen up to the rank of captain and commissioned through the ranks. He says, well, you've done 30 years of service. Where do you want to go for your last year? I said, well, That's a first. I've never been asked before. I said,
nice.
send me to Canada.
Yeah.
I will train heavy artillery because that's what I was in. I blew a lot of stuff up in that
Wow,
time.
that's awesome.
I'm partially deaf as well.
Right.
But I came to Canada for 9 months,
Yeah.
and then by a coincidence, this lady came onto Facebook.
Yeah.
And we chatted, and it just happened. She lived 4 hours down the road in Calgary.
Oh.
So our relationship grew, and we've been together 12 years.
That's
now.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And 12 years later, you're now going to be the leader of our city in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
I'm trying everything within
Just a little less than 4 weeks.
To do that.
Super. So let me just have a fun question for you here.
Yep.
Not going into all your campaign. I'd just like to learn a little bit more about you, Dean. But one of my social media people, I said, "What would you want to know about your mayor?"
Yeah.
And one guy wrote or asked me on my Insta, I think. He said, "Any plans to axe the stupid international art projects and frivolous spending thereof?" And he said, "We absolutely have more than enough talented local artists, many of whom do not yet receive enough support to contracts. Those international projects were an insult to us as taxpayers and slap on the face to local artists." That's my rant, he added. What are your thoughts on our international project plan?
I was at a debate down in the city at the Central Museum, the Central Library down there. And one of it was that question, near enough that question.
Yeah.
I would love for Calgary to be the center of arts for the Western world. Pretty much like back in the 17th, 18th centuries, artists would go to France and to Paris. I would like to promote that artists come, live, and do their work and contribute to society. As far as I'm concerned, any funds that are in our arts program is not going to go out of our city. If you're living and contributing to our society in Calgary as an artist, whether it's an artist or a musician, then we would look at giving you funding for amazing projects. Now, people say to me, what about, and they've just changed the system of accrediting grants. The old system didn't work, and that's why we got the lumps of rock and the blue ring. And I have a plan for the blue ring.
I want to hear it.
I have a plan. And I sat down.
Calgarians know what the blue ring is.
Yeah, I sat down, and we have I follow some amazing Indigenous artists in our city. And they're doing.
Wait, what is the real name of the blue ring? It's something, I heard it recently. You don't know. Okay. What's that?
It's something other than mountains, but
is it?
It doesn't even point to the mountains.
Okay.
So I would like to really turn it into the province's biggest dream catcher.
Oh, that is nice.
Have Indigenous artists develop that, so when there is wind,
I like that.
The metal feathers fly in the wind.
Wow.
So
that could actually create some sort of legacy around that.
Yeah.
And what's happened recently to our, what we're learning about since May 27th. And the Indigenous, state that we.
So I have a dream of looking for an Indigenous group to actually turn that into amazing structure and to be a dream catcher.
That's fun.
We all have dreams, and maybe it might catch my dream one day.
Good. Maybe another sort of going back to like Calgary. What strikes you about Calgary?
The people.
Yeah. You found like you were looking for a place that was full of kind people, you mentioned. And
when I came to the city, I just wanted a 9-to-5 job. I'd had all the stress of going to war-torn countries and deployments and commanding over 550 men and women into battle. And it comes with its baggage eventually, once you've done all that. So I wanted to come and volunteer. I'm a big Christmas guy. And for those who, I think it was December of this year, I have my own charity. It's called OneDirection Calgary.
OneDirection Calgary. links to the show notes.
Yeah. So OneDirection Calgary is a non-profit charitable organization that its focus is to help good people doing good things in our city, who are underappreciated, to bring charities together, to do better. I class myself as the United Nations of charities. So I've worked in the charitable sector since I got here for various charities. And my favorite charity is called the Magic of Christmas. When I was 14, my mother said, "You'll be Santa Claus this year for everybody." So I was Santa Claus, and every year since that day, I've been Santa Claus.
Really, that's awesome.
So when it came to December,
yeah,
and council closed down the malls, children couldn't go see
Santa,
Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, "I'm not happy. I need to take Santa Claus to the children of Calgary." And we spent 18 days. I pimped out my truck with speakers and lights and a 7-foot Christmas tree. And we drove around 120 communities over an 18-day period from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock, blasting out Christmas music and just meeting the children.
Wow.
And it gave me a full perspective of just how important the festive season is to in all communities, even those who are non-religious. They were out on the streets. It was just that demeanor. It was a really depressing time, and it did lift the spirits. So that's just one of the many things that I did in the charitable sector. So bringing charities together is what I do. For fun.
Yeah.
And
I noticed just on that note, as you came in here, I recently did a deal with a fellow, Carl, and he was playing it was Saturday, and he was playing rugby for the city provincials on the Rams football club, I guess rugby club. And you were a ref, one of the refs. Or
I was refereeing that day. I did referee 2 games.
And so you're still reffing in terms of your community service and stuff? That's
I
been playing rugby for 50 years.
50 years I played rugby. I started as a very young boy and played at all levels. In 95, I played for the combined services military against the German national team, but then gave it a rest for a while, came over here. It really lit my fire. Played for 10 years, then volunteered at Crescent Heights High School, actually.
Oh, okay, coaching there?
Yeah, they didn't have a women's program.
Okay.
So I brought a women's program together for 1 season, and they won the city final.
I remember that, actually.
Yeah.
I remember they won. And being quite, I maybe knew one of the girls on the team. What year was that roughly? It would have been 10 or more years ago.
No, it was about 3-4 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
But it was awesome, and you wind them up and let them go.
Yeah, and you won after just getting started.
I know.
Awesome.
It's all about leadership, right? Yeah. And bringing a team together and getting the best
leadership. That's kind of cool.
That's what I've been in all my life. Leadership. I'm no politician, and I'm not a businessman.
So how does that so you have no experience in the sitting in council. Why does someone like you decide that you can lead the city? Have that vision that you're the man?
So when I said back that time, I made a decision to find a place, a good place to live. Yeah. There was another promise I gave myself that day. And it was that if I ever witness leadership in the city that I lived in start to jeopardize the way of life of the children who lived in that city, my friends, neighbors, I'd do something about it. So when I came, and I did find that 9-to-5 job in facilities maintenance and air conditioning, and because we used to blow things up, and then we would have to rebuild infrastructure of cities before we give it to them. So you had 2 jobs as a soldier. Yeah. So when I came, I got a facilities maintenance employment, and I rebuilt their whole maintenance department over a period of 9 years. Yeah. But every month when it was combined meetings of council,
Yeah.
I would go into council and sit at
Would
the
you?
back of council. This is starting in 2009 was the first time I sat in council. And when I did 3 deployments in a counter-terrorism role.
Ooh.
So I know how to find out information.
Yeah.
It's just things that I do in my spare time. So over the time, I got to really know the councillors through the information which is out there. Anyone can find it if they know where to look. Yeah. So I would listen to how our leadership spoke. I wasn't interested in what they said. It was how they said it. So as the years rolled on, there was a situation in council. And when it came to the budget year, I would go and take a week off work. I was just the maintenance guy, sat at the back of the room. And I would take a week off and just sit and listen to budget and how they do things.
You sort of, when you first came into the room, you seemed interesting to me. And now that I'm joking.
Yeah.
That's okay. Keep talking. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry. So anyway, I do that. But in 2018, it was when oil and gas were leaving the city, and the city was the council at the time were looking to lose 150 million in revenue, rather than living within their means and saying, right, we need to seriously reduce our services and live with our means. They decided not to do that. They decided that, okay, they come up with this huge, amazing idea that they'd put that revenue, that tax burden on the business sector of the city. So I was sat there.
Taxes went way up.
Yeah. So I was sat there, and there was these 2 ladies, and I'm going to meet these 2 ladies because what happened to them that day is the reason we're having this conversation, because it pulled the pin on that second promise. They stood up and they pretty much were pleading to council to not do what they were going to do. And there was 12 other people ready to do public submissions. They finished their submission. For those who don't know, you only get 5 minutes to talk to council on anything you want. But they'd finished their 5 minutes. And then the next person came up and said, they can have my 5 minutes. So then they were on for 10. And the next person came up, they can have my 5 minutes. 35 minutes they were talking to council. So I'm sat at the back of the room and thought, right, I'll see what happens now. Yeah. And a councillor stood up and started to cross-examine them on their personal finances and whether they managed it well. And I just couldn't believe was there no compassion for what they just tried to explain to them. And then another councillor, and pretty much the same, but it was all about expenses and finance. There was no compassion. There was no empathy. And then the mayor closed them down and said, I know who you are, we're going to move on. It was then that I left council, and I live in Beddington. So I walked from city all the way home, knowing now what I had to do.
That's a big walk. Good for you.
I had a lot to think about because I had to explain it to my wife.
Yeah. That you wanted to go, that you were seeking a leadership position in our city.
So that was the process of what happened. And the people throughout the world who have ever worked with me, they know I very rarely make promises because I class that as a jail sentence, because I've got to, I always follow through on my promises. But if I ever say I'm going to do something, then I will do it.
Good for you.
That's pretty much it.
So you're coming from this background, well, rugby player, prop, I should say, and then military. So, and it sounds like a lot of tactical and strategic type stuff.
Correct.
So as we're 4 weeks away from the election, can you win?
Well, I'm the only candidate running his own campaign. I have no campaign manager.
I think I kind of noticed that.
Yeah.
And then I requested this meeting of us, to interview you, and you've taken the time to come here to my home office. This is the first time I've done a live podcast since before COVID. I mean, that's kind of eaten up your time. And I've seen a few signs, I think, but not a ton. But you seem to be working things yourself. You're doing a lot of work yourself.
I have. I'm very good at strategic planning.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I would plan military operations, deployments, and I'm fairly good at it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Now I'd probably be 6 foot under somewhere.
Yeah.
When you're planning something like a strategic operation, the systems and procedures are very simple. Well, to me, they're very simple.
Yeah.
It's having a task, having a mission, having a goal, having a focus, and how you achieve those goals. It's a military indoctrination that soldiers who are watching this will fully understand where I'm coming from. So when it comes to running my own campaign, ethically, I couldn't bring myself to have someone else run my campaign and pay them in the region of $25,000 of donations for that service. I would not be a leader where maybe the other candidates, their campaign managers should be the mayor of Calgary because they're running their campaigns.
Right.
So I'm running my own campaign. It's got me to a stage now where I've over 300 signs around the city. Yeah. Initially, I had 400 small ones as they were getting put out to get the message out there. Yeah. I've distributed in the region, hand distributed with volunteers, over 120,000 leaflets around communities, various communities. I've done no mail drops. I'm running this campaign on a working class man's budget.
I saw that. I thought that. Yeah.
So in 2018, when I got home and had a chat with my wife, I said, I need to save every dollar I have, earn or own, over the next 2 years to pay for my startup campaign, to get me in a place on the 20th September where I can compete with the establishment. Because the pushback I've had from mainstream media, for those who out there who don't know, that if you don't have a large budget, it's hard to get airtime. So this is why I much appreciate coming on your podcast.
Thank you.
And a few other channels who have opened up the airwaves to my vision and what I've got to say. So there's a lot of pushback. So those funds have got me where I am now. Right. So
and why was September 20th the frame? Is the next 4 weeks or 3.5 weeks really important in the campaign?
It is.
I have no clue. It is.
Why? So historically, prior to this year, we would just have a campaign period of 4 weeks. And you would have to have 4 weeks to decide who was going to lead your city. That was it. But this year, and I always say things happen for a reason. Right? And 2 years ago, this was the hurdle I was looking at. Because I looked at the last budgets, I downloaded all the information of Mayor Nenshi and Bill Smith, their finances, what they use over a 4-week period to become the mayor. And Mayor Nenshi got $600,000 for a 4-week campaign.
Wow.
And Bill Smith got $900,000 in donations over a 4-week period.
That's incredible.
That is incredible, right? So I got a phone call, and I won't say who it's from a group trying to dissuade me from running for mayor. And I'll quote what they said. They said, it's pointless you running for mayor. You don't have the funds to get a foot into City Hall. You need $1 million. And that's just to buy the media.
Wow.
And as I was moving forward, and let's just say I'm ex-military, and that conversation didn't.
It would upset you.
It drive me, right?
Right. What I learned recently, emotion creates motion. You got emotional and got.
Yeah. Okay. He was on the phone. He wasn't facing. Yeah. He may have been somewhere else if that had happened. But that comment, I'm determined. I sat down with my campaign team. I said, and they're all volunteers, professionals in their own right, but they have just.
Who are they? They're your friends. They're from your spirit.
Some
your
people,
network?
No.
People come out of. They just see you.
I just
like
meet them.
Yeah.
Meet them. I'll give you an example. I have a friend who's an ex-military guy, lives in Toronto. His daughter lives in Calgary. And I went to meet her one day. And this was probably 2 months ago. And she said, oh, I've got a new job in marketing and media. I went, that's awesome. She said, oh, I work for so-and-so. And I mentioned about you running as mayor of Calgary. And he said, that is bizarre. I've been meaning to get involved in something like that. I need to meet Dean. So we went and had a coffee. And he's been running my marketing and media campaign, my website,
that's
as a
awesome.
volunteer. And just things like that. I just meet people. I went, oh my God, like my CFO. One of my charitable association members, who's an artist, was dating a guy and said, he's a CFO. He's a really nice guy. I went, let's have a chat. And I just meet people. I've never talked to a person while on campaign trail and they've said, oh, I'm not voting for you. Whenever I've had a conversation, they're always going to vote.
Really? Wow. I was kind of curious to see how that works. Like, how do Calgarians actually maybe you can take a stab at that question. How does a Calgarian choose their mayor?
Okay. So what I would say is you'll hear so much political spin and deflection, and you'll know that the three councillors that are in the media all the time have all the numbers and figures and systems and quotes. That's because they've been in the system for...
So who are those three? Is it Jerome, Jyoti?
It's Jyoti, Jeremy Farkas, and Jeff Davis.
Jeff Davis. Okay.
Yeah, so them three, and they've all got their own direction. But I would say over the 4 to 5 years, while working in the charitable sector and meeting people who have slipped below the poverty line, and just general concerns. People want change. They want something different. And I say to people, go to my platform. You'll see exactly where I'm going. And it's not with major legacy projects. They're going to happen because our economy needs to be regenerated, given that kick in the butt to get it moving. But my focus is on the people and communities of our city. And the services that I want to bring will give people from low-income families that chance to just get a foot above the poverty line and then move themselves forward. There's a lot of things in my platform. There's 22 reforms I want to bring. One cannot be completed in a 4-year term. I'm not a visionary. There's 4 years. I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to advise council we can do in 4 years. And when the people of Calgary are looking at the candidate, I might not be your candidate, but when you look at how they're going to improve your quality of life within the next 4 years. If they paint a picture of a utopian society in 10 years, maybe that's not the candidate you should be picking.
Right.
We have a dream. My dream is to be in service for 4 years and do as much as I can in case of damage limitation to our society. We're going through, the recession's gone nowhere and COVID is going nowhere. We got to learn ways to live with that. And I have a plan for that as well.
Wow.
Our mental health of our city it's skyrocketed. And every time we move in and out of restrictions and we don't have clear, decisive leadership that can unite a council and bring a team of people together to do better things for our city, it just escalates and escalates. And it's driving a wedge between two groups of people. And I've seen it before, Brian, in war-torn countries.
So it's 3.5 weeks.
Yep.
The population, what are we? Almost 1.4. You must know.
1.3 million people.
1.3 right now.
1.6 if you consider people coming into the city.
1.6.
Yeah.
With
the influx from outlying towns coming in to do work.
So and the people have spoken. They said yes. Dean Hopkins for mayor. It's your first day on the job.
Yeah.
Who are you meeting with?
I'll be meeting with administration and the city manager because I need to sit down and kick him right up the butt. I'm a man, I'm not the most eloquent man in the world. And maybe even when I'm on media.
You're pretty elegant.
Well, push the wrong buttons and the wheels fall off.
Right.
But if I do happen to drop the old F-bomb, then I apologize to everybody what I'm doing.
You're forgiven.
I'm just a passionate man about humanity.
Right.
That's the way I'm going.
We can see that.
But yeah, the city manager, we would sit down. I have a few cups of coffee because when you're looking at a mayor, you're not just looking at the individual, you're looking at their platform. This is the direction the city's going to go in the next 4 years. So the councillors you choose are vital to that. Councillors coming in, they know the mayor's platform. So when it comes to subjects on council, then they know which direction the masses of the people want to go in. I fully understand that all these new councillors, at the moment there's about 120 councillors trying to run for 14 positions.
And about 10 of them are getting like brand new.
Yes, correct.
Historically,
well, they're all going to be brand new, but the other two are going to try and regain their seat, right? So what I would say to people, please choose your councillor wisely, because I will be supporting them to do their job in their community. It's all about what's going on in their communities, and I will be there to support them to do whatever I can.
So on election day, remind me, I think we have 3 votes. We can vote a mayor, a councillor, and a school trustee.
That's correct.
Yeah. Interesting.
18th of October is go day.
And how many school trustees are in the battle? Do you know?
I haven't even looked at the school trust. I have issues with schooling in our city, and I'll be having a few words with a few people.
I moved to this province in 2003 for the excellent schools.
Yeah.
When I was on the East Coast, and there was a CBC program saying, how do we best help our kids?
Yeah.
And it was like 5-day, no, it was 2002 maybe. And it was a 5-day program. And what I got out of it, I listened a lot, was how to help our kids in Atlantic Canada. This is bad for me. No Atlantic Canadians can hear this, was to move to Alberta.
The thing is, like, our school system
for the Alberta advantage.
Yeah, our school system, obviously the province is the main driving force with the educational system, and the document they've introduced is having some pushback with reference to where we're going. I'm a firm believer that we should be preparing our children for life. Yes, education is important, but for life. So life skills in general.
Right.
And some children are not as academically astute as other children. Some children are not destined to be lawyers or barristers or brain surgeons, but love construction.
Right.
And so I really think we should be going down the line in the senior years of having schools dedicated to construction and trades like trade schools, and others towards academic. But again, that's another conversation.
In respect for your time and our viewers' time, we should be shortening this down pretty soon, but I want to just have some fun. Maybe just a few rapid fire questions.
Okay, go.
But before we jump into there, how do people best reach out, learn more, contact you?
All right, my website is the main point of contact. Dean Hopkins at yyc.ca will take you to my website. But the main source of information about all candidates is a brand new website constructed and developed by a university graduate. This year it's been accredited by Elections Alberta, and it's called Polity Vote.
Polity, how do you spell that?
Polty.
Polity vote.
PolityVote.
Probably com or ca.
No, it's just PolityVote, and you should be able to find the links on there.
Okay.
It's an actual website.
Provide links.
And that's got all the candidates on there, and they have specific topics, and people can go on there and you can look at your candidate and actually vote who you're going to be following. But I would say, if you want to really make a difference, is get involved, reach out to your candidate and organize a meeting of local community people, or at a local bar, restaurant, a meet and greet. That's what I'd say. That's the way to do it. I'm a full believer in power to the people.
Good. Very good. Well, I think we'll end there. I was going to get into some rapid fire questions, but I think we'll just cut it there. Any last request of the audience, the viewers, the listeners? Dean, anything at all?
Yeah, my piggy bank's looking a little empty at the moment, so a donation would be awesome.
A donation would be awesome, and they can do that again
through the links,
through the
links.
Website.
Yeah.
Okay. Dean, thank you very much for coming to my home office podcasting studio. I do appreciate it. It's great to meet you in person, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.